G'day guys, Adam Kogan here from SSW TV. I sat down with Brian Harry. Brian almost needs no introduction. He created Visual Source Safe in the 90s, and then .NET with Anders Holsberg and a few others. And then he created Microsoft Source Control System, TFS, which is also known in the cloud as VSTS, Visual Studio Team Services. Enjoy the interview.
Now was the time for me to take some time off, spend some time with my kids before they're, completely gone, spend some time on the farm to sort of take care of things that I've been wanting to take care of for a long time, and just take a break for a little while.
G'day guys, I'm here today with Brian Harry. How are you, Brian?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me in your lovely house.
You're welcome. Thanks for visiting.
Well, you've had a long 22-year career at Microsoft. 23. Okay, thanks. Starting with VSS, Visual Source Safe, and then moving on to TFS, and then the cloud solution.
.NET in between.
And .NET in between. Can you tell me some of the most meaningful moments you've had?
Oh, wow. There have been so many. Certainly, the day we shipped .NET was big. I remember feeling like we were doing something significant for the industry and being very, very proud of it. I think there have been a number for TFS. I think the day we went live with the cloud, with what then was TF Preview, that was really exciting. It would have been even more exciting if it didn't fall over that day. But maybe it would have been less exciting but more fun. But that was big. Cloud was still relatively new, and we were sort of exploring what doing an enterprise class cloud service looked like.
I've noticed over the years that you might have mellowed a little. Would that be true?
Yeah, no doubt. I think everybody changes as they age, and I've learned a lot from my career and made a lot of mistakes and learned how to improve and how to do better.
Do you have any tips for younger managers on how to maybe when things aren't going right, how to deal with some of those problems?
A lot. As I say, I've made plenty of mistakes and learned the hard way. But I don't know that I could get them off the top of my head. One thing you might do is check out my blog. I've got on my Microsoft blog a bunch of articles which are just my experiences, and as you know, I posted one yesterday on giving feedback and how sort of as I've learned how to give people feedback and do it effectively so that people hear you and understand what you mean, and that your feedback has the effect that you desire. But there's a lot of my experiences written on that blog. It's blogs.msdn.com/bharry.
You wrote a blog related to that earlier. I think it was called Taking Feedback.
That's right.
What made you write that blog?
What made me write that blog?
And why taking feedback before giving feedback?
Well, because taking feedback is so hard. I think there were a number of things. I think I had a couple of occurrences in that time frame where I was dealing with people, I was trying to give feedback, and I felt like I had some epiphanies. People who were struggling to take feedback, or in cases where I was doing a very bad job giving feedback, and it just got me thinking about all that I've experienced in trying to give people feedback, and I was just kind of processing it in my head, and ultimately decided to write it down to help me work through my thoughts.
And the giving feedback one seemed to be a lot about the motivation of why you're giving the feedback, and kind of making sure that they're in a safe space before giving them the feedback, rather than just rattling off everything you want to get off your chest.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the biggest mistakes people make when giving feedback is they give it when one or the other is stressed and angry or frustrated or in a hurry, and that's one of the worst times you can possibly give feedback, because people aren't in a place to hear it and really think about it.
I'm actually interested to see, like, in a year's time, which one's more popular, taking feedback or giving feedback. Now, you were one of only about 20 technical fellows at Microsoft, and it's rumored that position has a lot of freedom and is incredibly fulfilling. What is it like being a technical fellow?
Well, I don't know exactly how to answer that. You're right, there aren't a lot. I mean, let's talk about what a technical fellow is. What a technical fellow is, a very senior leader at Microsoft. It's generally VP level, vice president level. And it's a title given to somebody whose skills are primarily recognized for technical contribution. So architectural, technical contribution to the product, or to the company. And when I was originally awarded that title, it was primarily for my work on .NET, where I was one of several key technical contributors, along with Anders Halsberg and Chris Broom and Patrick Desud and several others. So that was why I was awarded it. And then over time, my role morphed into more of an organizational leader, and I was managing a larger and larger team. And by the time I got to managing a team of several hundred people, the title just didn't fit anymore, because it really is designed for people who are primarily focused on individual contributor technical work. And as an organizational leader, you're sort of doing more organizational and strategic work. And so they changed my title. Soma came to me one day and said, hey, I've been thinking about it. Do you mind if I change your title from technical fellow to vice president? I was like, nah, whatever. It doesn't matter.
Right. But when you're a vice president, which is what you ended up being, that has as I understand it, a business deliverable role. You went from managing just a couple to managing 800. What was it like being a vice president at Microsoft?
I've enjoyed it a lot. You're right. I ultimately did end up managing quite a large team. And yes, there is a business component, because I basically owned the TFS and VSTS business. And that's all the way from thinking hard about what the experience for our customers is, to thinking about how we sell the product, how we working with marketing on pricing and licensing and building awareness and all of that stuff. And then also on helping sort of direct the product and drive where we're going and what capabilities we're building and what the demand in the market is.
I've only got a few more questions. With TFS and Visual Studio, you created software that enables a whole generation of software developers, which you obviously would be very proud of. Is there some of the things that you never got around to that you wish you had of?
Oh, are there things that I never got around to that I wish we had of? Not anything that I can think of. I mean, I've been blessed to really have the opportunity to sort of take the product where I felt it needed to go. Now, there are things we haven't gotten to yet that I am super excited about, and we'll get there. But nothing that I feel like, boy, we just missed an opportunity. As I think about things we haven't gotten to yet, I think DevOps for artificial intelligence, for people doing work with big data and AI and models, super interesting problem. I think the tooling is super immature in the market right now. I think we've got an opportunity to do something compelling for the next generation of developers, and I'm pretty excited about that.
So it's been amazing being there along the ride, watching from TFS 2005, when all the talk was about a rational and a rich client that you were competing against. And at the time that seemed, gee, all we wanted to do was beat them, which you did. And then new competitors came on the scene, which like Atlassian, and that was completely cloud-based, completely different competitor, all agile as well. And you had to completely transition your product to cloud-based and at the same time doing all the work for Agile and and scaling out solutions and things like that?
Yeah, I'd say in just the 15 years I've been working on TFS and VSTS, there have been several significant transitions. The first one we helped facilitate. Like when we started TFS back in 2002, we identified a big problem that people had, which was they had a random assortment of tools, none of which integrated with each other. And so the fundamental premise of TFS in the beginning was that it was an integrated set of tools where the integration of the data was a core value proposition, the ability to trace across all of your artifacts and all of your processes. And that was huge. I mean, it was transformational, and it sort of redefined what the ALM market was all about. And we were very successful with that. And then, and as you say, against IBM and Rational and the big other suite vendors, as it were. And then sort of the next transformation was sort of REST, OAuth, and the integrated web. And we were not the first sort of to that transformation. People like Atlassian and GitHub and some of the others really kicked that off, where you would build really good point products and then through web standards integrate those point products with best of breed other components. We figured out that was going to be the future, and round about 2011 or so, we sort of pivoted our strategy to embrace that model. And then the third transition was the transition from on-prem to cloud, and we were pretty early in that. We got started well before there was significant demand for that. Certainly in the commercial space, before there was significant demand. And that it started slow, but we're now at the point where I expect in the next year we will pass, our cloud offering will surpass our on-prem offering. We'll have more than half of our users in the cloud.
Yeah, well, we're fully in the cloud. What has made you make this decision to leave our TFS team?
Well, there's no single reason. I've been working, about 29 years, I think. And it's been, very dedicated, very intense. 2 startups and then Microsoft. I work a lot of hours. I stay really busy. About 10 years ago, I bought a farm as sort of a release and a way to exercise without going to the gym every day. And that's been great. And I think we just got to the point. My kids are starting to age out. I've got 2 in college now and 2 that are teenagers, and I felt like now was the time for me to take some time off, spend some time with my kids before they're completely gone. Spend some time on the farm to sort of take care of things that I've been wanting to take care of for a long time, and just take a break for a little while.
So you've been running this very large farm kind of just part-time on the weekends with you and Kim. Now you've got a lot of time to dedicate to it. What are some things you hope to knock over?
Oh, Lord, I've got so many projects. Several of the barns are in need of repair, and I got to work on that. There's tons of fence work to do. There's new paddocks to build. We got to take care of the orchard. Like this spring, I'm urgently in need of pruning the orchard, and that's 2 or 3 weeks worth of work. I mean, it's a lot. So it's a long list of stuff that I have to do.
And when it's raining, what will you be doing?
Yeah, so you were with me yesterday I guess it was day before yesterday when the weather was really bad. When it rains, and particularly when it rains and it's cold, being on the farm is not a pleasant experience. So I try to find stuff to do inside. And in the last, 4 or 5 months, I picked up baking. And I know that sounds weird, but then, a technology guy that farms is also weird. So I guess I'm just a weird person. But, I think I got hooked on the Great British Baking Show, which I just really liked. And it, after watching it for a while, I finally decided, I think I could do that. And I decided to try. And as I've gotten into it, I found that I really enjoy it. It actually has a a little bit of a feel to me like software has. I mean, the reason I've always liked software is it's immediate. The feedback is immediate. You try something, you see the result, you don't like the result, you try, you fix it, you tweak it, you keep tuning things, and you're trying to figure out kind of what's wrong. There's a diagnostic, debugging aspect, a problem solving, and just an immediate experience. And I found baking has a very similar feel. Baking is very complex. It is very sophisticated. There's a lot that goes into it. And you bake something, and it takes a couple hours, 2-3 hours. And if it doesn't turn out, you have to figure out why. You have to debug, what is it? Did I bake it too long? Did I not bake it long enough? Did I not put in enough yeast? Did I put in too much water? Like, there's all the things you can do that can go wrong. And then you try again. And if it didn't work again, then you debug it and you try again. And sometimes I'll bake 8 or 10 loaves of bread in a day, just each time trying to tweak it and figure out what I did wrong and keep iterating until I get it to exactly the way I want it. So, yeah, it's fun.
So maybe I could be hiring some good bakers as programmers?
Maybe. There are some similarities, but I'm not sure they're quite the same.
Well, I saw how exact you were making your weights to the milligram.
Yeah.
I can tell you, an experienced person, my mother-in-law I'm thinking of, she's Greek. She doesn't follow any recipes. She does everything by feel. And when you're trying to write out the recipe, it's impossible because she just does it her own way. So I maybe could have given her a job. I never thought of it. Well, Brian, it's been awesome working with you over these years. You've been a great inspiration for so many developers. You've given us a great product, and thank you very much.
Thank you.
And this is Adam Kogan signing off for SSW TV.